Hey future Harvard students, your personal statement can make or break your entire college application. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing my very own personal statement that got me into Harvard on a full ride scholarship. And I'm going to be sharing a ton of critical tips and advice to make sure that you craft a personal statement that stands out from the tens of thousands of other applicants. As context, this personal statement that I'm going to be sharing with you got me into Harvard, Stanford, UPenn, and Columbia with 0 rejections, and it has also helped me to secure some of the world's most competitive funding, including a full ride scholarship to Harvard called the Frank Knox Memorial Fellowship, which is only awarded to 15 people in the world each year, the Quad Fellowship, which is another $40,000 grant and has an acceptance rate of less than 2%, and finally the Schwarzman Scholarship to Tsinghua University in China, which is again one of the most competitive graduate fellowships in the world. So this personal statement has done a lot for me. Now, I want to preface this video by saying you shouldn't copy my essay. What worked for me won't necessarily work for you, but I'm going to be sharing a lot of key strategies that help to make my personal statement stand out so that you can craft your very own winning personal statement. Also, before we get started, if you want free one-on-one college admission support with myself, then be sure to make sure you're subscribed to the channel and fill out my website form at the top of the description, because I select one new student every single week to help them reach their college dreams for free. Okay, let's dive into my personal statement by starting with the opening and how to write a powerful hook for your personal statement. As context, for each section of my personal statement, I'll be sharing an excerpt. It's not the entire thing, but then explaining why it appeals to admissions committees, and finally, what are the key takeaways for your future personal statement. I want this to be something that's really constructive and helpful for you. Okay, I've got my laptop here with my personal statement on it, and let's start with the opening of my personal statement. Also, it's probably worth noting that I applied for a master's in education, which is why a lot of what I'm talking about will be centered in the field of education. It's nothing personal, but my Australian high school was not for me. I sat subserviently still for 5 days a week and found it impossible to pay attention to my teacher's monotone recitals for more than 10 minutes at a time. As a result, I taught myself at night through the free online learning platform Khan Academy. Listening to the engaging voice of Sal Khan in his free education videos empowered me to thrive in school and inspired the work I do today supporting tens of thousands of young Australians. So that's my opening, and now I want to break down why, in my opinion, this works really well as an opening. The first key thing is that it starts with a bold, unexpected statement, saying it's nothing personal, but my high school was not for me. This immediately grabs the admissions officer's attention, and they want to know why I wasn't interested or engaged in high school. The second key thing is that this introduction shows rather than tells. Instead of saying I struggled in school, I am describing an experience of sitting still, struggling to focus, and then discovering a new way of learning. Again, I'm showing, not telling. I'm telling a story, explaining the emotions that I'm feeling, and the reader is able to make inferences from what I'm presenting to them, rather than me just saying I'm sad, I'm depressed, or I'm really struggling. And then finally, towards the end of that paragraph, it connects to my future mission. This isn't some random story that I've just plucked out of thin air. It's directly tied to the field of education, and it's going to go on to explain why I have a deep passion for addressing education inequality in Australia. So what are the takeaways for the opening of your personal statement? The first thing is to start with an intriguing, unexpected statement. The second is to use vivid storytelling to bring your experiences to life. And finally, to make sure that the opening is going to connect to the larger theme of your essay. Okay, now let's dive into the next part of my personal statement, which is kind of where I'm starting to establish the problem that I want to solve. It's nothing Australia seems to be ashamed of, but socioeconomic status is one of our strongest determinants of educational attainment. In my first year of university, I mentored a class of year 10 students in a low socioeconomic school just 20 kilometers outside of Perth, and I asked them, who here believes they can go to university? Out of 30 students, only 2 put their hands up. So as you can see, I'm using storytelling to hint at the education inequality crisis that we're facing in Australia at the moment. This paragraph really clearly highlights a problem that drives my motivation, and instead of saying I care about education, I am demonstrating again why this issue matters with a real life story that I had experienced. So when you're doing the introductory paragraphs of your personal statement, it's really important that you try and lean into those storytelling elements, and they can be super simple stories. Like mine was literally, I asked students who thinks they can go to university, and 2 students put their hands up. It's such a simple story, but it is telling something. It is speaking to a higher problem of education inequality and how urgent and real this problem is. So the key takeaways here is clearly define the problem you want to solve and use storytelling rather than statistics to try and paint a picture in the reader's mind, because stories are so much more memorable than statistics and facts. The next part of my personal statement is how did I kind of tackle professional achievements / like my credibility in the field of education, because that's really important. You have to do that at some point in your personal statement. So this is how I went about it. I listed it really quickly. As a 6-time author, a former graduate school researcher, and the co-founder of one of Australia's largest education non-for-profits, Elucidate Education, I have worked to support more than 100,000 high school students by giving them equitable access to the textbooks and online content and videos that they need to succeed in school. The reason this works is because I've spent the first few paragraphs painting a picture of the problem, and I obviously haven't shown all of them, but now I'm diving into my professional achievements. So I've painted a picture of the problem and what have I been doing to try and solve it, which is building my education non-for-profit and publishing 6 books at the time, now 7. I think a lot of the time we see the personal statement as a place that you regurgitate your resume, but really you should only just be touching on key parts of your resume. That's what your resume is for, is to show everything that you've done. The personal statement is about storytelling and telling other elements about yourself that you weren't able to present in your resume. So I believe that when you're touching on your professional achievements, try and keep it relatively concise and focus more on the storytelling and personal side of you. Okay, the next excerpt I'm gonna share is my future ambitions, and I think it's really important that you're able to paint things in a clear light. Like, what do you want to do with the rest of your life so that they understand how the grad school or the school is going to help you get there. My lifelong ambition is to develop 2 nationwide EdTech initiatives that will significantly advance Australia's education equity and holistic education efforts. My first EdTech initiative aims to expand Elucidate Education Australia-wide to provide our 750,000 Year 10, 11 and 12 students with free access to all the textbooks, online content, educational videos and assessment software they need to succeed in school. After that, I go on to talk about the second ambition, but again, super concise. 2 EdTech initiatives that I hope to introduce, and obviously what I want to study is education technology. So there is a very clear understanding of what my ambition is. The admissions panel can see it very clearly in my personal statement, and I think that's what creates a lot of power behind the personal statement that I've written. So when you're writing your future ambitions, make sure that you have them very clear and concrete. And honestly, a lot of the times when I was writing my personal statements, I was using bullet points to show like, these are my 2 EdTech ambitions. So it's very clear and distinct in amongst this 1,000-word personal statement. The other really important thing is to make sure that you're sharing an ambitious but achievable goal. The reason I was able to put forth these very big goals is because this was something that I was already working towards and had spent the last 5 years on. So it's not unreasonable to say, I've impacted 100,000 students, one day I'd like it to be 750,000, because that's attainable. But if I said I want to impact 100 million students, it might be a bit unbelievable to the admissions panel, or they might just think it's probably too far of a reach, unless I had a demonstrated track record that I was capable of doing that. Okay, now let's jump into the next part, which is the why this school. So I've explained my future ambitions. Now I need to explain why do I want to go to this school in order to achieve them. So here's like a little excerpt. Like I wrote roughly 300-400 words about why I want to go to this school specifically. But obviously I don't want to share the whole thing because that would take forever. The Masters in Learning Design, Innovation and Technology at the Harvard Graduate School of Education is undoubtedly the best program in the world to empower me to achieve my ambitions. I will learn from world-leading universal design researcher Professor Jose Blackorby and 2 of the founding fathers of EdTech, Professor David Docterman and Professor Christopher Deedy. I go on to really talk about some of the key units that I wanted to take, the concentration that I'd love to do at the school, and a bunch of other things, and you can check out my personal statement in the description, like it is there for you to read. But I think the really important thing when you're writing your personal statement is you have a structure where it starts off very fixed. You know, you explain your life story, you explain what your future ambitions are, but then the back half should be solely dedicated to the school. Like, why is that school specifically tailored for your needs? Because that's what they really value. They want to see students who are deeply committed to their school and understand why their school is going to be super important for achieving their ambitions. It's such a simple thing, but a lot of students don't even really research the schools that they're attending. They spend so much time building a great profile, putting in all the effort, but when it comes to actually like just sitting down and doing the research on the specifics of the program, they find it so boring and therefore don't put in the effort. So if you want to help stand out in your personal statement, just put in the research, see what on-campus opportunities there are, name specific courses and professors, like do your research, and it will really help you to stand out. Like I believe this was part of the reason I was able to win a full ride scholarship, is they saw that if I came to Harvard, one, that I really wanted to come to Harvard, but two, if I came, I had a very clear plan and understanding of what I was going to do during that time. And as a quick recap of some of the key points to take away as you're working to build your personal statement, I think if you can hit these, you'll be well on your way to getting into your dream school. So the first is to start with a bold, attention-grabbing hook. That cannot be understated. You've really got to draw the reader in and make them want to commit to reading your essay. The next thing is to clearly define a problem that you're passionate about solving. Like you've really got to workshop it with your friends and understand what is it that you want to do in this lifetime. The next thing is to use concrete numbers to prove your credibility. So when you're talking about your achievements, include tangible impact metrics, because that is the most valuable thing you can do. The next is to outline your long-term ambitions in a clear, actionable way. I would even suggest using dot points or numbering the bullet points, because I think it really helps make it clear for the admissions officers, like, what are you doing, rather than just getting swept up in like a huge essay. And then the final one is to tailor your application to each school. Do your research. It's boring, it's difficult, but you've got to do it. And also, if you want more step-by-step guidance, you can check out my free 10-page personal statement guide that I put in the description. And also, as always, if you want free one-on-one college admissions support with myself, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and fill out the website form in the description, because I do select one new student every single week to help them reach their college dreams for free. Now go out there and write the winning personal statement that gets you into your dream school with all the funding in the world. Good luck.